Our society has created this way of thinking that, like, yes, men and women can be equal, but only when a woman starts acting like a man, or when a woman starts embracing more of her masculine qualities. And that is not women's empowerment. That is anything but. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Jillz and I help women step into their power, tap into their divine feminine, and transform their lives. So if that's something you want to do, you should subscribe and stick around. So today's video, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind lately. And this is just kind of this whole topic of women's empowerment and the whole women's empowerment movement and everything that that entails. Truthfully, I find a lot of fault in it. So much of women's empowerment has become teaching women to learn to live like a man, to be like a man, to act like a man does, or really just to have more masculine qualities, and that the only way for us to truly thrive and succeed as women is for us to embrace all of these masculine attributes. Here's the thing, men and women are different, and you can try to argue this point and this stance, but this is just the reality, and this is just science, and this is just biology. And although of course we are still human beings at the end of the day and we still have a ton of similarities, it doesn't mean that men and women are exactly the same. We are meant to complement each other, and we tend to have different strengths. And so much of this whole women's empowerment movement has been us trying to prove that we can have the same strengths as men. And of course we absolutely can. And those, especially like beginning stages of the feminist movement, were so important. And I am so grateful for the women that did that. We deserve equal opportunity. We deserve to be able to work in the workforce. We deserve to be able to make those choices for ourselves. But so much of women's empowerment has become, if you don't make the same choice as a man, then that choice is less than. If you don't have the same strengths as a typical man, then those strengths are not as valuable. But I want you to listen up. Our womanhood is sacred. What makes us special and unique and different is what makes us powerful. As women, we innately have this powerful feminine energy that sits within us, and it's this powerful creatrix energy of transformation and death and rebirth. It's this powerful connection to our intuition and something deeper. And it's this wonderful connection to the world around us and to the people around us and to nature and to animals. We have so much power and so much strength sitting naturally within us. It is born within us, but we shut it down and we stifle it because we have been taught that those aren't appropriate strengths to have. That listening to your intuition and making decisions based off of your intuition is dumb. That focusing on love and nurturing in relationships is silly. Having a career and having a certain status and money and achievements in your pocket is more important. We've been taught to shun our menstrual cycles and to feel bad about them and to hide them. And we haven't been adequately taught about the power that these cycles hold within us. Our menstrual cycles are not dirty. They are not something that needs to be hidden from the world. As women, we operate differently. We do have our menstrual cycles, and even if for some reason you're a woman, you're not having a menstrual cycle, or maybe you're just out of that age, you've hit menopause or whatever, you still have that same energy, that creation energy that the menstrual cycle creates in a woman. And you will always have that energy. Back in the way old days, when a woman was bleeding, it was actually a very not just powerful, but psychic time in their life. And that was when they were able to, supposedly get all these psychic downloads about their tribe or the world or whatever. And it is true, a woman tends to be more connected to her intuition and those deeper parts of ourselves and deeper parts of the world when we are on our cycle. But we aren't really taught that we have these capabilities. And what our society has done has just kind of pushed all of the power and all of this unique strengths and unique capabilities and unique traits that we have as women down. We've pushed down our hormonal cycles. We've given everyone birth control pills to shut them down. Birth control pills are another great example of just women becoming more like men and not honoring their womanhood. Of course, I totally see the value in birth control pills, and while I think that they should absolutely be a choice for every single woman, they've become something that almost every single woman takes for at least a few years. And what it does is, of course, it shuts down their hormonal cycle so that they can't get pregnant. But that creation energy, that menstrual cycle energy, not only are we having physical repercussions of this, but we're shutting down who we innately are. We're shutting down our ovulation. We're shutting down our superpowers. Why is it that our hormones need to start looking more like a man's for us to thrive in this world? Why do we think it's bad if we feel like we need to slow down when our menstrual cycle comes? I mean, I can tell you the reason, and a lot of it has to do with living in a capitalist society that just really values money and the economy and just people working all the time. Obviously, that is a huge component to it. And I'm not here to just be like, oh, you know, destroy the capitalist society. All I'm saying is that these things have taken away the beauty and specialness of our womanhood. Our society has created this way of thinking that, like, yes, men and women can be equal, but only when a woman starts acting like a man, or when a woman starts embracing more of her masculine qualities. And that is not women's empowerment. That is anything but. Women's empowerment should be about empowering women to live life that's unique to them. And when we start to harness all of these masculine qualities, we start to lose the things that make us uniquely us. Again, so very thankful for the feminist movement. It has done wonders for us. However, what tends to happen in society and culture, what will happen is the pendulum will be over here, and then when we're trying to create equality, the pendulum will swing the whole other direction. And in order for us to balance out, we go from here, and then we go to here, all the way on the other side, for us to be able to realize that right here in the middle is actually what we need. And so we're kind of seeing that pendulum swing in that whole other direction, where now women are losing a sense of themselves and are doing everything that they can to have these incredible, you know, careers and make a ton of money. And although I think those things are amazing, I also want those things. There's also more to us than that. And we start realizing that we've lost touch with ourselves and we've lost touch with our womanhood, and it doesn't make us happy like we thought it would. And a lot of people like to say, when we compare like men and women, when we think about the differences between the two, like for example, there are some obvious differences, right? Men in general are taller and stronger. That is just the reality. Women tend to have higher emotional intelligence and just be a little bit more empathetic and more in tune with like people's emotions and the relationships and all of that. We tend to be more intuitive. Another thing is that our bodies tend to be more sensitive than a man's. Our body is designed this way. It is an evolutionary advantage to us. And what so many people will think is like, oh, our bodies are more sensitive than a man's. That makes us weaker. That makes us inferior. And I encourage you to ask yourself, just because our body's more sensitive, why is that a bad thing? Whenever we compare men to women, we think about women's qualities, and maybe let's say there's things that we aren't as good at naturally as men, like strength and athletic stuff. We think that that's a bad thing. We think that it's bad that we are, in general, weaker than the male sex. But why? Why is that a bad thing? Do we think the same with men? Do we think that they must be inferior because they tend to have less emotional intelligence and awareness than we do? They have less spiritual awareness than we do? No, they're just different, and that is okay. Our womanhood is sacred, and we can honor our strengths as women. We can honor what makes us special, and we don't have to force ourselves to live like a man, work like a man, think like a man, take on all of these masculine attributes, because all it does is tear us farther and farther apart from our authentic selves, and we lose what makes us special. We lose what makes us unique. We lose what makes us truly valuable. And this is going to be different for every single woman. Women should be honored and valued for what they choose to bring to the world. There's going to be some women who want to be a CEO and never get married, never have kids. There's going to be some women who want to stay home and homeschool and have like a basketball team of children, and that's fine. Some women want to travel the world the rest of their life, and that's great. I support that. But if we are constantly trying to push down our womanhood to be more like a man, to be more successful, to be more accepted and more respected, we might get that, at least for a little bit, but we'll lose our sense of self. We'll lose what truly makes us happy. And I read this book recently called The Case Against the Sexual Revolution by Louise Perry. It is a really good book. I highly recommend it. And she talks about the differences between men and women and how in general, there are of course always exceptions to the rule, but in general, men tend to have more happiness and satisfaction from kind of sleeping around a little bit and having more of those like one night stands and things. Whereas women in general, of course there are always exceptions, but in general, we don't get as much satisfaction from that, and that is okay. When it comes to sex as women, we tend to crave more of a safe and emotional, intimate connection with a partner. That is a biological, evolutionary advantage to us because as women, we have a lot more to go through than men if we get pregnant. Like that is just the reality. So way back in the day, it was an evolutionary advantage to make sure that we trusted the man before we slept with him, that we could rely on him, that he actually cared about us. It's in our nature to still think that way, and it's not wrong to think that way. But now in our society, a lot of women are sleeping around more, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I personally do not care what anyone does, and I would never judge someone for that. I have friends that waited till marriage, and I have friends that did the exact opposite, and I truthfully don't care. But now in today's day and age, especially with the invention of the birth control pill and everything, women are kind of like much quicker to sleep with a man, or they'll sleep with the man on a first date. All I'm trying to say is that so many women do this because they feel like that's just what's normal. That's what's cool. That's what guys expect. Again, it's just another example of us living in a man's world and shutting down our innate tendencies because that's how a man does it. I encourage you to ask yourself, are you doing that? Are you having those sort of intimate relationships with men because you really want to? It really makes you feel good? Or because that's just like what happens now? And that's another thing with like sex and intimacy. Like as women, this is just the reality. Like as women, if we wanted to go have sex with someone, we could. That's a little weird and funny to say, but it is true. And it is kind of like a part of our power, I guess you can say in a way, is that we don't have to chase for that kind of stuff. Why are we doing these things that we're not comfortable with, that don't truly make us feel good when we think about it, just to like fit in or just to like be a cool girl? Why are you allowing people to walk all over you in this way? Why is our innate nature to form an emotional connection with someone first a bad thing? We have so much power and specialness as women, and it's okay to embrace those differences. It's okay to honor those differences and not feel bad about them. It's okay to embrace your womanhood. Now, here's the thing with all of this. Acting this way and trying to conform to fit into more of a man's world and a man's perspective, this will never truly give us the power and equality and respect that we're looking for. And nothing will ever change in this world until we can start seeing the value in the feminine ourselves, until we can start seeing the value and specialness in womanhood, until we can start seeing our womanhood as sacred. We are the ones who have to start changing that. We are the only ones that can change that. And we have to start respecting ourselves, owning who we are, owning our authenticity. We have to start paving our own path for a life that actually fits with what we want and what we desire and what feels good to us. Not the other way around, not just living a life because somebody says that that's what we're supposed to do. Being a woman doesn't make you less than. Embracing your womanhood and honoring your womanhood doesn't make you less than. And you have to be the one to start seeing it first before the world is gonna catch on to this. The whole point of this video is not to tell you how you need to act or what you need to do or what you need to be like. But at some point, you do need to honor who you authentically are and get in touch with who you authentically are so you can live a fulfilled, meaningful life. Your womanhood is special, your feminine energy is powerful, and you don't need to shut it down. We have to choose to embrace it together. This is definitely a little bit of a trickier topic to talk about, but any comments below are welcome. Just please be nice. And this video is not meant to degrade the value of men in our society, not at all. This is just about learning to embrace our womanhood and seeing the beauty in that. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Bye.